Tune in to the Diva Hot Show.
Hey, you guys, thanks for tuning in to the show. Today, our guest is Dena. She's the CEO of Mindful Mind Revolution, right?
Yes,
Thank you, Dena, for joining us. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Thank you. So, tell me a little bit about what inspired you to start your own business.
It's a good question. I think deep down, I've always been an entrepreneur.
Uh,
Any job I had, I always rose to a leadership position, and I always was interested in operations.
Okay.
I always love to understand how businesses work. And I think for me, it was naturally a progression because I needed to be free, right? I needed to be free. I felt like a caged bird at times working for other people. And then I had three young children. And so the decision was made for me to stay home. And while I love being home with my kids, the truth is I love to create. And for me, the way I create is through businesses. And so that really was the precipice, the starting point of my entrepreneurial journey.
Wow. So, how do you define mindfulness for motherhood and what roles do it play?
That's a really good question. I think mindfulness in motherhood is really just about intentionally being better than the day you were before.
Okay.
Because being a mom is so hard, and many of us are doing our own healing while we're raising other children. And so I always stress to women that it's acceptable to be an imperfect mom. It's okay to be an imperfect mom and to lose our cool from time to time because we need to teach our children boundaries, but we also want to feel better inside of our bodies for ourselves and for our kids. Being a mindful mom is just having that level of awareness and taking action every day to become just a little bit better than you were the day before.
And so what started the journey for you to want to be an advocate for mindful minds, mothers?
I love this question because the truth is, I lost my mind. I
Okay.
lost my mind. And really, there were two times in my life that meditation saved my life. And the second time was when I became a mom. I had two young kids within a year and a half, and I was just overwhelmed. I wasn't in a positive state. I resented my husband. I resented the world. And I needed to do something for myself that allowed me to feel better so that I could show up better for my family.
Right. I know that even like as being a single mom of two, when my kids was much younger, and I tell like a friend of mine, she has a similar situation. Her kids is like a year apart. You don't be guilty for taking time out for yourself as a mom.
100%. You need it. You need it because if you don't, then you have resentment,
Right.
right? And then you feel stuck in motherhood. And motherhood, I believe, what I've learned now is that it's really an expansive time for us to grow, for us to be creative, for us to connect with our children, but also to the world within us and outside of us. And so if we sit there and we feel guilty all the time because we had a bad moment, because we were being a human being and these little creatures were pushing us to our moment, to our breaking point, then we're not helping anybody. We're just sitting in despair, right? And so taking time for you and doing what is best for you, I truly believe this, that when you do what's best for you as a mom, you're also doing what's best for your children.
That's true, with society, it's sad because they created this false image that what mother like you look at the movies, that's what mom's supposed to look like. We're not supposed to, go take time off for ourselves. We're always supposed to be happy, know the answers to everything. So I just think like this is a discussion now because you have a lot of moms that I feel like they feel so much, they beat themselves up so much
Yeah.
and they need they need people like us to be like, "It's okay," you know what I mean? You can take time out for yourself.
I think women in general have a really difficult time giving themselves permission to be human, right?
Mhm,
I
mhm,
think women in we just hold ourselves to a standard and we don't realize that the standard is completely make believe,
right,
right? So we always want to hit this level, and this level has nothing to do with our truth, our personal capacity, and what really who you are as a person. And so what I share with people, even though I meditate regularly, I'm not a walk on waters, drop flowers everywhere I go type of person. I wear big hoop earrings. I got a bad mouth. I'm doing my best right now. That's still who I am at my core. I'm an assertive, aggressive person. And so for me, mindfulness and meditation just allowed me to have grace with
right.
all of the parts all the parts of me, the parts that can stay calm and connected and the parts that still struggle, but are still working hard to do better than I was the day before.
And that's important what you said. Every day you're working on, you know what I mean? Like nobody is perfect, but every day you're working on changing something in yourself.
Absolutely. And I'm raising businesses and babies right now.
Right.
And so not enough people are talking about how hard that is.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those things. I almost feel like being an entrepreneur is more challenging than being a mom at times, because it doesn't always make sense. The outside validation isn't always there. Nobody's coming to give me a hug in my business, like in my motherhood, where my kids will come and give me a hug. But both of those things are some of the toughest roles that we can play in our lives, and doing them together just takes a whole load of resilience and fortitude and mission-driven purpose in this world.
Yeah. And again, I feel like people, especially like you saying, moms, women that are entrepreneurs and mothers, having dual roles, we need a little bit more kindness. We need a little bit more passion. You know what I mean? Because like you said earlier, we as mom, we beat ourselves up so much because we want everything to be perfect. And then we feel bad because as an entrepreneur, like a friend of mine was telling me, she's like, I don't turn it off. I can't turn it off. I'm always working and trying to do this and do that. So we need more compassion, I think.
For ourselves,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, the reality is nothing gets built overnight, right? And so if you are an entrepreneur, you already know that there's a certain level of sacrifice that you have to be willing to step into. And if you're a mom on top of that, well, sometimes that sacrifice means time away from your kids, right? Or it means prioritizing work over having those moments of play. And that's a really delicate dance that that we have to shift through. And it's a place that invites us to have that grace and that ease with ourselves, because we're not going to get it right all the time.
No, we're not. And what do you see some of the common challenges that women face, particularly practicing mindfulness, and what solutions or practice do you recommend to overcome them?
I think people have the wrong definition of what mindfulness and meditation are.
Okay.
I think that's the first thing. Do you have a meditation or mindfulness practice?
I just started probably a week ago.
Yeah. And how does it feel for you?
I get up in the morning and, I journal and then I meditate. I feel like it's able to quiet my mind, because if not, I'll be always thinking, okay, I got to do this. I got to do that. Like, you know what I mean? So that's the practice, the part I like about it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think where so many women don't even get to where you're at because they think that meditation means they have to silence their mind. And when they try to do that and they're inundated with all these thoughts, they're like, I can't shut my mind off. I'm not doing it right. And so I think at the crux, people take a misstep because they think meditation is about silencing your mind. And what I like to share with people, moms especially, is that sometimes all it takes is just focusing on one breath at a time as we breathe in and we breathe out. And if you can just be conscious and aware for one breath, time and time again, well, that's mindfulness and meditation. And the power of that is that it can actually transform your brain so that you can be more calm, you can have more perspective, and you can feel more grounded while everything else is chaotically revolving around you.
And I feel like when you touched on something when it comes to meditation, because I remember going to a few yoga retreats and they were like, oh, you get, if the thoughts come into your mind, dismiss them. And honestly, what I found throughout the years, when you're meditating, those thoughts are coming to your mind, but let them play out. I mean, I feel like it's spirit guiding you to a solution for that problem or something.
I like that. I like that. I think there's a saying that I've heard all the time is that prayer is when you are speaking to God and meditation is when God is speaking to you. And I think you just touched upon it. The reality is we have 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts a day. So it is no wonder when you sit to practice meditation or to start a practice that you all of a sudden are in touch with all of these thoughts that you didn't realize you had just a moment before.
Yeah, that's true. And can you share some specific mindfulness tips or practices that mom could start to incorporate in their daily life?
Absolutely. So, like I said before, I tell people always to start here. Meditation can be as simple as just focusing in one breath at a time. So, following your breath as it comes into your body and it comes out to your body. Now, what I recommend doing is choosing a number 1 through 59, a number that you're going to see every single hour on the clock. So say your number is 16. Every time you see 10, 16, 9, 16, 11, 16, take that moment. Take that moment to just breathe and then go back. You know, again, it's just one breath and then you go right back into your life. But every time we can make small shifts from the cycle that's running into our head to the present moment with our breath, we calm our body down just a little bit more.
And you know, I know, like, I don't know if you I have an Apple Watch, and that's one thing I like about the Apple Watch is that mindfulness will come, it alerts you, like, take a minute, you know what I mean? Take these deep breaths. And it's not long, like, you know, what everybody think it is. Maybe 30 seconds, and then that's it.
Right. We put so many barriers to do it, to starting these practices, because sometimes we just don't know how. Sometimes we feel scared, or sometimes we just don't want one more thing to do. But like we said, when you realize it can be as simple as one breath, 30 seconds, then it's more manageable for everybody.
Right. And so how do you encourage moms to find balance and avoid burnout through mindfulness?
That's a really interesting question. And I have a really long answer for it, but I'm going to make it short because I know you're speaking to women here too, right? My personal belief is that balance is not a thing. Okay. We can't define it. It lives outside of us. This is another thing, like these standards of being an entrepreneur, being a woman, being a mom. Balance is something that we've been taught to reach outside for ourselves. Your life operates based on the priorities that you have in the moment. If you want more rest, you have to prioritize it. If you want a better relationship with your partner or your support system, you have to prioritize it. If you want to stay calm and connected to your kids, you have to make that a priority. And if you want to work to grow your business, you have to make that a priority. There is no such thing as balance. You get to pick and choose your priorities. You have permission to change those priorities day to day. And if something is not going well in your life, ask yourself, how can I prioritize this differently?
And I think that's true. Being able to see, like, what is it that you want? It's like you said, prioritizing, putting the list. What's important to you at this moment?
I'll give you a real quick example of this, right? Because Monday through Thursday, keeping a clean kitchen is a major priority to me. It's the seat of my house. My children are in and out. Come Friday, I don't care what my kitchen looks like. Doing the dishes is not a priority, right? Because I've given myself permission. Not that I still don't value a clean house and a serene house, I do. But come Friday, I know that that's not my priority. My priority is to relax and unwind with my kids. And so I give myself permission to shift priorities so that I can have more of what I want.
I understand. And do you feel like culture and social expectations affect the practice of mindfulness and motherhood?
Motherhood, absolutely. Absolutely. So many of us are still healing from our own childhoods, right? Because culturally we were raised by parents who in their own right were doing the best that they could, but they perhaps used words or physical discipline or just parented in ways that don't feel genuine for us anymore. And so we're still shedding that skin so we can step into the mom and the entrepreneur we're meant to be.
Right. And so I know before we started, you were saying that you was working on, you have the membership for moms, and then you have the weekly accountability call. So explain how those came about.
Yes. So one of my personal pillars for success is community, because I believe both in motherhood and in entrepreneurship, it gets easier when we get to do it together and we realize that we're not alone with our thoughts, our pains, and our issues. So I have a monthly membership just for moms called the Mom Club. You can access it through my website, which is denafarash.com or the revolutionarymomclub.com/join. I also run a weekly accountability call for mission-based entrepreneurs with a good friend of mine who's an executive coach. That's called the Go-Getters Club, where we show up every single week to hold ourselves accountable, to do the work, and to propel ourselves forward in personal and professional development.
I love that. And what advice or words of encouragement or wisdom would you offer to moms that are just starting their journey into mindfulness, a mindful motherhood, and individuals looking to incorporate this into their lives?
There's a reason why you're here. There's a reason why you're listening to this. There's a reason why you want to feel better as a mom. And so pursue that unapologetically, make it a priority in your life, stick to it, be consistent, and watch your life start to feel better from the inside out.
And I feel like too, just to piggyback off of that, I feel like every day is, you start over, new morning. You feel like yesterday, oh, I didn't, to get this practice. Okay, well, you have tomorrow to try again. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay for a new day. It's a new day, a new start.
Absolutely.
If people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way of reaching out?
I am on pretty much every social media channel. I share the most on Facebook. I encourage you to find me there, friend me there. It's Dena Farash, Dena with an E. My website is denafarash.com. And I have a Facebook group with a few thousand moms in there. So if you're a mom and you'd like to get into the free Facebook group, find me, reach out to me. I'd love to have you in there.
All right. Thank you, Dena, for joining us. I have to join the Facebook group myself.
I would love to have you in there.
Yes, yes. Anytime you want to come back, always welcome. We love talking about woman empowerment and just making sure we give moms out there, entrepreneurs, the tools to be successful.
It's so important. Thanks for doing this.
Tune in to the Diva Hustle Show. Motivate the glow. We give you more info. Think to my head to toe. I let the whole world know. I let the whole world know.